Welcome to Discussions with the Writer Fred, right here at Black Video News in San Antonio, Texas. We are the voice of the Black community. Well, lately there has been a lot of talk about this new documentary, Hebrews to Negroes. Hebrews to Negroes. I understand it's been out for a while, but it's just starting to catch everyone's attention because I guess Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, put it on, I guess, one of his links, Twitter or something, and then the New York Nets suspended him for 5 days and put all these requirements he had to do. They called it being anti-Semitic. So I decided I would concentrate on that for the first portion of our discussion, and I invited two of the most knowledgeable individuals about these subjects to be my guests today, and very much our community activist leaders. And that is William B. Johnson and Chris Dawkins. Gentlemen, welcome to Discussions with the Writer Fred.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to comment on something I didn't watch. And I haven't watched this Hebrews to Negroes because Chris watched it. He told me it's 3 hours. And I don't know if I can sit that long and watch something. So I'm going to ask Chris to kind of brief us and brief my viewers on what's all to do about this Hebrews to Negroes?
Well, let me preface it by saying this, is that the first time I heard about, he referred to the movie, but he never actually identified the movie.
He being Kyrie.
No, Kanye.
Oh, Kanye. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then...
No, not Kanye. Yay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then after that, immediately almost after that, then Kyrie comes and comments on it. But he really, let me take that back. He did not comment. He just sent a link out. Okay. And he didn't say watch it. He didn't say don't watch it. I like it. No, don't like it.
Right.
He just sent the link out. Yeah.
Well, so let me stop you just for a minute. Okay. You just said and everybody said he just sent the link out.
Right.
Well, he sent the link out for a reason. Don't you think?
Okay, I agree with that.
To watch it.
No.
What? Well, why would he send the link out?
You have to assume that. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
You think that's
I'm
pretty
not
fair
saying
assumption?
yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we agree. We
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
Sure. He said it for
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, I did watch the movie. I sat down and watched it with, matter of fact, last Friday, called it movie night. Had both my wife and my daughter and her boyfriend. So the four of us, we had dinner.
Popcorn.
No popcorn. We ordered an Oriental food and we watched it.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised that they didn't whine about the movie because it is very kind of intense to watch. I felt you really needed a guide or a study guide or something to watch with this movie. They talk about the languages, many different languages, and trying to teach you the difference between what the languages are. I thought it probably was thorough if you knew what they were talking about. But there's a lot of it that is just a lot to digest in 3 hours.
Okay.
Now, having said that, I do want to say this. I don't know what all the fuss is about anti-Semitic. I looked at it. I didn't see really anything that talked about that. Yes, it did talk about the Jews. It talked about the Jews from the beginning and where they are now. And in addition to that, I asked those who watched the movie with me, not even at the time of the movie, but a day later, was there anything that you saw that was anti-Semitic? And each one of them said no.
Okay.
You said they talk about the Jews. When Kyrie was interviewed by the press, one of the reporters asked him about the movie referring to that there was no Holocaust. Did they actually say that?
I didn't see that, no.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not there. It's a 3-hour movie.
Okay.
That might be there, but I did not see anything in that movie. And I would venture to say that those people who are doing a lot of the criticism have not watched the movie.
So then are you take the next step and maybe say what the Nets did to Kyrie was not a good thing to do?
Well, let me put it this way. Yes, first of all, I do say that I don't think that the Nets did what they should have done. The Nets are following what the Jewish population says you should do. For so long, me having been in music at one time, you've got a lot of entertainment, TV, movies, music, and so forth that is run by the Jewish population. It is no secret that back in the 40s and the 50s, that the Jewish people were also using some of the musicians and songwriters and so forth, and they weren't getting all of their royalties and so forth. And I know, even when I had a contract on Warner Brothers, it was almost very much the same. You got maybe 10%, and they got 80%.
Yeah.
Okay?
Whose fault is that?
If you wanted the contract, that's what you were going to do. If you didn't want the contract, then,
So you're not faulting them, are you?
all I'm saying is that when you have one group that can control everything, and then we as black folks we don't feel we need a leader. And when we feel that we don't need a leader, then like the situation with Kyrie, we don't have anybody who's going to defend this brother, okay? Because there's none of us sitting around here that have the capability to be able to do that. And this guy is just out there flapping in the wind by himself, and there's nobody really to help him.
Well, let me say, my good brother William Johnson defended him in a long critique the other day, and that's why I invited Mr. Johnson to be on the show. So, Mr. Johnson, you want to tell us what you were saying about the freedom of speech and all that for Kyrie Irving?
When I see statements by a black man like I heard Kyrie, I think he was interviewed, I believe, by, was it Candace Owens or
Yes.
someone? And I listened to that interview. I thought it was well conducted.
I thought it was too.
And I was really,
Oh, no. You guys are giving Candace Owens some credit. Oh,
I think, despite her but still, that's what I think. But I was impressed by the brother. This is a 30-year-old young man, young black man, who dares to stand up, for blackness, really, despite the forces against him. I just feel like what the NBA and required of him, that was just flat overkill. In every sense of the word. And I brought a list to remind myself of what they required.
Okay.
They wanted him to apologize, condemn the film. You do that. Then they also wanted a $500,000 donation from the man. 5 games without pay. He was docked that.
donation to the anti.
Well, to an anti-hate group.
Yeah.
Defamation.
I don't know if they specified that or not,
Oh,
but
okay.
some anti-hate group. And they wanted him to go through sensitivity training. It just sounds like things that they require law enforcement after they shoot a black guy or something like that. You go to sensitivity training and try to learn how to do this and that and the other. And he hadn't done anything of the sort. They wanted him to take anti-Semitism training. As though there is such, I don't know how he's going to do that, but that's what they want. And then they want him to meet with the Jewish leaders, to talk with them, to get their blessings. In other words, they just want him to gravel and be less than a man, come begging, to continue playing ball. And I have a real problem with that. And I like the way that he stood up and resisted, the temptations that they offered him. He did apologize, I'm told, which is fine. To me, that should have been sufficient.
They said it wasn't sufficient, right?
No, that's correct. They did say that.
Yeah, that's why he's having to jump through all
He
these.
was not fit to be with the New Jersey Nets
Yeah,
or
because
the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, because of that. After they got to do all of that, and I think the man said that he can't be anti-Semitic. Now, why would he say that? So he can't be. As an AME, I'm told that when you see the word Semites in the Bible, that signifies black people. ITES. I mean, you see it.
Okay, that's
periodically.
new. The Semite
Yeah.
indicates black people.
Well, the ites, which means Semites, and there are other ites, Aaronites, and other people in the Bible, that ITE portion, indicates blackness. Yes, in some way, way back, but that's what that does. So by him saying he can't be anti-Semite, he can't be anti himself. At some point in the chain.
And that is where Kyrie started.
Yeah, but that's come on.
Huh?
You could be black and be anti-black. I could name a few of them. Clarence Thomas.
Okay.
And that ilk.
No,
They're anti-black and they're black.
I understand, but in the large scheme of things, Thomas is, just a fly on the wall. Historically, in terms of the longevity, of our people and our history, Thomas, you can't possibly compare that to what it means historically.
Well, no, I'm just saying, he can be anti-Semite even if he thinks he is a Semite. I mean,
According to his statement, he can't be. So I don't. It depends upon where you see it.
Okay.
And if you go by what I think they were talking about in the movie, okay, they were making this statement to say, I cannot be anti-Semitic, okay, because I would be against myself.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
But come on, that's not true.
You have to have a perception of.
So you're taking the attitude of what the Jewish and the white people say.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm just saying that.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I'm saying, of course, I'm not. But
Okay,
you can be black and be anti-black.
But I think it means.
Candace Owens, I would say, is anti-black.
Well, I think that's a.
We got some people in San Antonio, and I won't call their name anti-black.
But that's a temporary state of affairs. When you look at the long, the big picture, if you will. We're talking. Look at the big picture. Don't look at somebody who's going to come in life, stay 25 or 30 or 50 or 60 years. That's no time at all compared to things historically. Okay. So you got to look at the big picture. That's really what he's talking about. And most people can't grab onto that because they have no idea, that Semites are in our history.
And my point is that who can help them defend that? They are right now out on an island in a boat by themselves.
Who is that?
Kyrie and Ye.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but I would say they're out on a boat by themselves with millions of dollars.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to take a break
Okay.
here, and I want to come back in our second segment.
Yeah.
Dr. Boyce Watkins
Watkins.
had a forum talking about Kyrie. Kyrie is an example of buck breaking.
Yeah.
And I thought that'd be a good topic for us to discuss in our second
Sure,
segment.
sure.
So we're going to take a break here.
All right.
You're with discussion with the writer Fred right here at Black Video News, and we'll be right back with you.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Hello, this is Cornell with Frost Bank.
Hi there, this is Terry with Frost.
Good evening, this is Franklin. This is Robert with Frost.
Hello, this is Rosemary with Frost Bank.
Welcome back to Discussion with the Writer Fred right here at Black Video News in San Antonio, Texas. We are the voice of the Black community. And I am so privileged and happy to have two of my very close friends and associates over the years here on my show discussing this whole issue of Hebrews and Negroes and buck breaking and all these other subjects, Mr. William Johnson and Mr. Chris Dawkins. So, gentlemen, let's continue. Dr. Watkins talked about Kyrie being an example of buck breaking. In other words, pushing him to his knees,
Yeah.
making him bow to the king, the superior person.
Sure.
I guess in this case, it might be the Jewish community and white folks.
Yeah, that's right.
And we do know what buck breaking is, but I'm going to let Mr. Johnson, why don't you explain what buck breaking was?
Well, just quite simply, it's designed to break a man down. They want black man to be less than a man. I mean, they always wants to be boys, acting like boys. So it was an attempt, psychologically, physically, and perhaps otherwise to just break a man down in a way that he'll give up his Africanness, give up his humanness, give up his manhood, really, and just do what he's told in order to survive.
Give up his blackness.
Yeah, sure,
Absolutely,
sure.
yeah.
In order to survive, and that was the whole idea. And there's a similarity here. If this man wants to continue to play, basketball and what have you, and get the crowd and all like that, they want him to jump through these hoops. You jump through them, or you can figure out how you're gonna manage it. So there's a message there. Black people must ultimately understand that as long as you're working for someone else, you're at risk to some extent. You got to do what the hell they tell you if you want to continue. We got to be a people who look forward to owning it ourselves, own whatever it is that we possibly can. Just have that as our goal, to own things, so we can utilize our free speech without having to look over our shoulder to say yes, sir, boss, in so many words to anybody.
So you're saying those days are still here?
They are still here in America today, absolutely.
Chris, what do you think about this whole idea of buck breaking?
Well, I agree with William B. Johnson. I think exactly what he was saying is exactly the way it is. You can't go around today castrating a man and doing different things like that. So you've got to figure out a way to be able to put us in our place. Every time you hear me, I'm always going to stress that black people need a leader. And right now, my feeling is that both Kanye as well as Kyrie are out there by themselves. A lot of discussion going on with, as you talked about, with Boyce Watkins, with a number of people. We're all talking about this subject, but there's nobody that can come to these guys' aid. The last point I'll make about that is that if you look at, I was telling my wife, I'm looking at TV the other day, and I said, look at how many black commercials there are. Not necessarily black products, but black people promoting their products. Okay?
Yeah.
And then you've got all of this. So you see things are changing toward that direction, but still we've got the things like what I would consider to the buck breaking with somebody like Kyrie, where we don't, again, have the power. They want the money, but they definitely don't want us to have any power.
Yeah.
Okay, let me play the devil's advocate like I like to do.
Okay.
Buck breaking was a method used by slave owners to break the black men so they would be compliant. They'd go along.
Okay.
It took the manhood away from them.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. They had no choice.
Right. Sure.
They couldn't walk away and say, okay, I don't want to be a slave.
That's right.
Don't do this to me.
Okay. That's right.
Kyrie Irving, Kanye West have an option.
All right.
They're already millionaires.
All right.
They can walk away. They can say, no, I'm not going to let you do buck breaking to me.
Okay.
I'm going to go out and be on my own. And there's a lot of black men that I know who would feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump through these hoops, even if I lose a lot of financial stability. If I got to do this, I'm not going to do it. So let me finish. Okay, I'll get right to you. Okay. So you're not forced to accept buck breaking. Go ahead, Chris, because I know you're getting ready to jump on me. Go ahead.
We live in a capitalistic country, okay, where making money is the type of thing that you want to do. So when you want somebody to give up what they're doing to make money or to make wealth, just to make a statement as far as blackness goes, I'm not so sure that that's always realistic. At the same time, you do need people that can support you in what you're saying and what you're doing. So if what Kyrie and Kanye are saying has any merit to what they're saying, again, you've got to have somebody to support them.
I'll go along with you on somewhat on Kyrie. Ye went around carrying a sign saying, what was it?
White lives don't matter.
White lives matter.
Matter too, yeah.
This guy was kissing Trump's.
Yeah.
You know? So why in the world do you think Fred Williams on this show should support him?
Okay, let me say though, when you just think about it, he had a sign saying "What White Lives Matter." What's the problem with that? I think white lives.
No, I have no problem with it.
That's what I'm saying. I think white lives matter. I don't have any problem with that.
But why was he doing it?
Well, I can't know why he did it. He may have done it just to start us to thinking. You know, I have friends and such where I believe their lives matter. Like I would love to see one of the white fellows that I know with a Black Lives Matter sign. You know, perhaps we've grown up to a point, or should have, where having on a sign is not, the end of the world. But I think back to this idea that, the buck breaking and what was your initial question that you asked us?
Yeah, I was asking you about buck breaking.
Yeah,
and
but
my comment is that there's no comparison. There's no comparison. And I don't like these folks using some tragic times in our history to tie into contemporary times, because things are changed. Just like the lady who wrote the book, The New Jim Crow.
Yeah.
There's so big a difference between our kids being arrested and our black folks during Jim Crow period.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jim Crow, heck, they didn't arrest you, they lynched you.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, but they take advantage. They take these terms to create an interest in what they're doing. So Boyce does this with buck breaking.
Okay, but what I was thinking about, you said something about they both are millionaires,
Yes, sir.
Kyrie Irving,
Yes,
and
sir.
that they should be in a position to make a decision.
Walk away.
Make a sacrifice, if you
Oh,
will.
they can walk away.
That's what I mean. They certainly can. That's easier said than done, as we both know. However, though,
Well, Mr.
I think
Garrett-
that comes at
Go ahead.
I think there comes a time, though, when folk in position to do so need to understand. Sometimes the struggle requires some sacrificing, I believe. Sometimes it does. It has by people in the past. We're here now able to do something we've done because they made some sacrifices, some real sacrifices for those people not to ride that bus in Montgomery, I believe, for over a year and walk or get a ride and what have you. That's a sacrifice of sorts, and there have been others that have been made. So I see I see a comparison where they should, in fact, if they're really for real, really, that would set hell of an example, wouldn't it? If one of them would, in fact, be man enough to just walk and just take what they have left and somehow utilize that to propel the black community forward in some way or do something else.
So if Kyrie, I think he said he's going to retire. I don't know if that's
I see.
final yet. So you think that's a magnanimous movement on his part? He says, "I'm just going to walk away. I'm not going to bow down. I'm not going to take this buck beating."
Well, I believe so. As a 30-year-old with a future like he had, I assume, sure. I mean, I think that's a sacrifice of sorts. But I mean, he should land on his feet. He appeared to be fairly intelligent. He's pretty articulate. He's a reader. He reads books. He was mentioning some things there that indicate that to me, and that's a plus. So I think he'll be all right. But I think he'll set a good example for younger fellows. That hey, man, if they try to make you less than a man, stand the hell up. Somebody got to start it, and perhaps he may be the guy to start it, and history will speak well of him.
And in the interview, the one thing that he said that I thought was very touching, he said it for our black kids who are coming out.
Okay.
We've got to understand who we are and where we come from.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
And nobody's saying that. You've got Kanye, who is a very arrogant person. You asked me,
no question about it.
why should you follow him? I'm not saying necessarily follow him. And, I'm not totally upset with what the Jewish community and the merchandisers did to Kanye, because he said, "I've done this, and what you gonna do about it?"
So he challenged him.
He challenged,
and they did something.
and they did something about it.
Done sure
which
did.
they would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that was very arrogant on his part. Now he's kind of backpedaling because, these kids are talking about these Yeezys. I didn't even know he had tennis shoes selling for $280, $290, and people are buying them.
Yeah. And who's buying them?
White folks.
There you go. Yeah. Same with Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
When they asked him to come out for the black in North Carolina who was running against one of the racist senators, he said Republicans buy tennis shoes too.
Right.
Yeah, but how short-sighted is that?
That's
a darn shame.
That is.
For him to do that.
But according to Fred, he had a choice. He could have walked away. He could have said, I'm not going to allow them to buck break me no more.
Yeah, but he didn't.
He didn't.
That's
right.
what William said.
Right.
He said it's a shame because he didn't walk away.
I'm sarcastically sending something towards you.
He could have come out in support of that black.
Well, sure,
he didn't.
He wouldn't miss any meals.
No.
Or anything. I mean, it's time that maybe we just, look at the big picture some as a people. We look for all these other people that come our way in March and do this nice stuff and then go home, and we're not prepared to do a darn thing. Sacrifice. And those who are in position to do so.
Okay.
So it's time for us to be prepared to sacrifice as well.
Okay, we'll take another break. When we come back, Chris just shared some information with us that might want to talk about for a little while.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Discussion with the writer Fred right here at Black Video News, and we'll be right back with you.
Amen.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. Ready? That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu. And especially this year, no one has time to get sick. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Welcome back to Discussion with the writer Fred right here at Black Video News. And as I mentioned earlier, we are the voice for the black community. Chris, you want to share with us the information you brought in here when you showed up? Shocked all of us.
Sure did.
As I was writing in here and listening to the radio station, the radio station said, look, we want to let you know about some news that had just happened. Mm-hmm. And it was that Russia, which they said they could not totally confirm, but it seemed to be Russian-made missiles. They said they couldn't tell if they were missiles, if they were bombs, or what they were, but had went to the border of Poland from Russia. If this has happened, then Poland is a NATO country, and it brings serious implications to where we are as a country and what we do and what happens to us moving forward.
What about, I know this is wild.
Okay.
What if Ukraine did it? Think about that. What if Ukraine did it?
Why would they have?
To get us involved. To get us involved against Russia. Get NATO involved against Russia. See, right now, NATO hasn't gotten involved because Ukraine is not yet a member of NATO.
Right.
So if, and over the whole, 9-10 months has been going on,
since February.
Everyone has stressed if Russia hits a NATO country, we're all going to go after Russia.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to lean on the fact that we have folk in position to absolutely determine who did it,
right?
And when and what have you. So we got to lean on those folk. But if it has been determined that in fact Russia did it to a NATO country, then it's not good news based on what Biden and others have been saying. If you attack a NATO country, we will do this and that and the other. So doesn't look good if in fact it's true. On the other hand, though, we're just celebrating Veterans Day. Veterans aren't ready to just involve themselves in yet another conflict, that possibly could be avoided. And I don't know how you back out of this, though, because USA is the big one in the NATO, I believe.
One other thing that Biden did that disturbs me, is when he met with the head of the president of China,
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
he told him Taiwan is off limits. And he assured Taiwan,
Yeah.
if China comes in here,
Sure.
we'll come in here and protect you. Now, look what we have.
Okay.
We're in Europe.
Oh,
We're in Europe.
I know.
We have to protect the NATO.
I know.
Now we're in Asia.
I know.
We got to protect Taiwan.
Sure.
What is this guy getting us into?
Well, let me honestly say, in my dreams or something, I wonder sometime, is it in our best long-term interest as a country to position ourselves so that if China does something to Taiwan or South Korea, we're certainly in it as though they bombed Texas? I mean, I don't know if that makes an awful lot of sense to me, really sometimes. Now, I'm a vet, I'm wearing my cap the whole bit, but I got good sense. I think what happened to those people over there, they'll have to, just like these other battles. You battle for a while, then you go home. Korea, Vietnam, all that. So hell, I'm a little tired of that.
We lost 58,000 of men, young men that would be my age.
Yeah, in Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
But nothing.
For nothing. For nothing.
Yeah, come on, for nothing.
Yeah. So what's our foreign policy? Should we be talking about we're going to protect Poland and we're going to protect Taiwan? And so now we're back to World War II when we were fighting in Europe and we're fighting.
Well, I think what you're saying is somewhat correct. I do believe that we do have to protect some of these other countries because just like human nature is, if you give these guys 1 inch, they're going to take a mile. So when Russia came to Ukraine, China was watching to see if that goes over well, then we're going to go after Taiwan. Okay? But the way the rest of the the rest of the world has been towards Russia, there's no way that the Chinese would go into Taiwan. And we've got to make sure that everybody can kind of maintain where they are. Now, one last point. Having said that, I think with the way that we've handled ourselves with Ukraine is the way of the future. Is that we try to stand back if we can. We try not to get or lose forces, and we try to help those countries as much as we can without us getting actively involved.
Well, I'd say straight out, I have a grandson, 19 years old, going to college. I don't want to see him have to go fight these wars that Biden could possibly get us into. I don't want to see that.
And let me say quickly, when it comes to the Ukraine situation, it's nice, but as I look at the Ukrainians, and the Russians, all these people look the same to me. They're all Europeans. They all have the same background and such.
They say that about you too.
And like that. but the deal is though, and the country was part of Russia at one point in time. Remember the USSR?
Yes.
Well, hell, they had Ukraine, Poland,
They did.
Czechoslovakia, Romania, all these people. They were all together. Then, hell, it wasn't the end of the world. So all of a sudden, so I wonder, is it necessarily the end of the world now that, to return to status quo, if you will? I think we need to think about that and talk about that. This is nothing new. Hell, they were under the same umbrella for years.
Well, I guess the Ukraine people would be like the end of the world. Yeah. So let's close off with some final comments. Start with you, Mr. Johnson.
Anything in particular? Or just
Anything
whatever?
you want to comment on?
Well, I just think it's time for black people in America and indeed around the world to just understand that we're all in this together. We don't have permanent allies. We should have permanent interest. This idea of being this or that forever, that's not a thinking person position. So when something impacts us as a people in America, and plenty has, and we want to group everybody else and his brother into it, left-handed people and different, we want to do all that nonsense. Stand up for African people. African Americans and others. Just stand up for us. It's all right. Nobody's going to hurt you or anything. Stand up for us.
Okay. Mr. Dawkins, final word.
I agree with what Mr. Johnson has said, but I'll add to it this. We've got to take a step back and decide what our strategy as a people are going to be.
Okay.
And we cannot do that if everybody or the majority think that we do not need a leader. We need a leader
On that,
to be able to
All right.
to direct us in a certain area. And those who are against us have taken advantage of us because we don't have a leader.
Okay.
The thing that I see us doing now with Kanye and Kyrie is the same thing like it was between Malcolm and Martin.
Sure.
You got so many people saying, "Hey, I'm not with it and I'm not for it."
Do you have a name for us for that leader? Quickly.
Do I have a name?
Yes, sir.
The only leader right now that I know that you have is going to be the Nation of Islam and Minister Farrakhan.
Minister Farrakhan's on my mind as well.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today in discussion with the writer Fred.
Yes, sir.
Very, very, very intelligent comments. And you brothers are leaders.
Thank you.
You brothers are leaders. Okay. This is discussion with the
Appreciate
writer Fred, telling our story, our way.
All right.